And we're live. Hello, citizens, and welcome back to My Cat Destroying Things. Yes, I'm talking about you. Uh, Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, and welcome back to the Comm Relay. Today, I would like to talk about the IAE, which is kind of entering its final days for this year. We started 2 weeks ago, and right yesterday we had last manufacturer, which was Anvil, I believe. And today they're doing the best in show, so that's gonna be is the Reclaimer, the C1, and the Terrapin, and something. I don't know what was the fourth thing. Uh, what's wrong with my headset? My headset has always been there. Uh, anyway, uh, what was I going on about? Right, IAE. So right now we have the best in show. So we have the four top voted community ships voted by the community for rent right now, and tomorrow I believe they're gonna do the armor and weapons display, which we will see if you will be able to actually buy things there this year, because last year you could not buy things there. And I have my social media manager texting me as to what is wrong. No, my headset fits perfectly. So the reason I have it this way is so I can hear the rest of the apartment because I'm paranoid. I don't know, okay, let's gonna sing as we got sidetracked by how I wear my headset. So show of hands, who wears their headset on both their ears, and show of hands of who leaves one ear at least partially open so they can hear sounds happening in their apartment. And Norstech Actual, welcome to the stream. So yeah, show of hands, everyone. There you go. One ear right there. I don't know. Maybe it's just me being paranoid. Maybe it's just I don't know. Because if I wear only one ear, I can hear the cat destroying everything, and I can presumably stop her before too much damage is done. Right now, she's scratching on a door in another room, except all the doors are open, so she has no reason to be scratching on doors. This animal, cutest thing in existence, but so annoying sometimes. Anyway, so IAE. Uh, I guess we're gonna go while we wait for callers to come in. Norstek, that's actually the other thing I have noticed is that I talk too loud when I have both ears on because noise canceling headphones, and then I just end up deafening everybody else. So I only wear one ear and I sound like I normally sound. Qjix, today we're going to be talking about our impressions of the IAE this year, since that's kind of the hot topic right now, and they kind of threw in a couple announcements, and there was some controversy with the Paladin, you know, good old Spectrum drama. Come on, it wasn't that bad. It was. Kujik says that he might get a ban if he joins the show. It wasn't like that bad. The worst part, really, was the paints. The paints look horrendous, uh, and I think I think that's a pretty logical conclusion upon seeing the paints. Uh, the preview render looks horrible, and I have seen like some in-game screenshots of them, and they look even worse. Which, I mean, in all fairness, there was not a whole lot of expectation from a IAE skin. Uh, I mean, what did we have? The first year was like purple and white, but that was before skins were a thing, so it would actually give you a CCU to the best in show ship that would have the correct skin. Uh, which I don't know. I don't really count those because I don't think I've actually seen any of them actually in game. Then we had just white and gold, I think, and those looked actually pretty good. That was like the second year of the IAE. I think they had they had the Eclipse that year, the Eclipse and the Karak maybe. Then the Eclipse one with the white and gold looks great. And yeah, that's the other good thing. 890 got paints, and Jangalath, thank you for the follow, appreciate it. Oh yeah, and the Valkyrie with white and gold, that looked great. That's my second favorite Valkyrie skin after the Liberator one. That I am told it was limited to only volunteers for the CitizenCon when they announced it, but I have seen some people have it who did not volunteer, so maybe there was some way to get the Liberator Valkyrie variant that I didn't know about. Maybe there was a concierge thing. That was like my second year in Star Citizen. I had no idea what was going on with the sales and everything, so bear with me. And then we had a blue one. I know I have a blue one for the MSR. Then we had a red one, because they had MSR they had like MSR 2 years in a row, and they had a red one for the MSR, and both the blue and red one looks great. True. I mean, Jangalath right now, I think everything releases with paints. When they have a new ship coming out, they put it out with paints, which about like 5 minutes before I started the stream made me think of a video topic. So I was like quickly writing it down instead of preparing for the stream. But yeah, no, the Polaris skins, I haven't looked because the price tag on the Polaris just hurts my eyes and my wallet and my bank account. But I have seen a friend of mine has the Polaris and bought some skins for it, and he sent me some screenshots, and there's like the gray and gold one, and it looks pretty good. It looks slightly better than the stock Polaris, but when you look at it from a distance, it just looks like the base Constellation Taurus skin, and that kind of put me off. And no, yeah, they had, and then they had like the Alien IAE last year, and they had the sort of bluish purple skin going, and it kind of like changes color depending on the angle, and it has a texture, and I love that one. Oh, okay, Jangala says he got 3 pack of paints, and it's subtle but different. And yeah, Qjix, if I could afford to CCU chain the Polaris, I still wouldn't do it. Look, this year I got my Galaxy. I managed to do it for like $30 with the refinery module, and I am happy. And my credit card is happy, and everybody's happy, and my mortgage is happy. It's great. Everything is great. Yeah, Norstech, that's absolutely correct. It is gonna be someone's favorite paint. I do agree that for example, with last year for the Luminalia for the Christmas thing, they gave out like the red, green, and white blue skins for like the Prospector and the Avenger. And that's like my go-to skin for the Prospector because it looks very clean. It's just like a very subtly different from the stock silver and blue. But if you put it on, it actually looks really, really good. Love it. So we will see what they do this year. I think they're going to do same kind of thing, just with different ships. Maybe they're going to do the Intrepid, maybe one of the other starters, because they had like, I think, Nomad skins in there as well last year. Yeah. I just CCU'd mine up. Only spent like $200 and change getting an LTI Polaris. That's actually not bad. I mean, they put it up to $975, I believe, this year with the Polaris, now that it's actually flight ready. Yeah, that's the other thing. So weirdly enough, I actually like sitting on a turret if I can. So I would be very happy to be a turret gunner on a Polaris. And there's plenty of Polarises to go around, and people are now playing with them quite a lot to do various stuff, especially now with the Save Stanton event, even though I gave up on that. Phase 1, no problem. Phase 2, got like halfway with a group of people, then we started having issues. And then like a couple days later, I just did it on my own, just by carpet bombing the locations where the targets were. And it took me like an hour to do all like 3 or 4 that I had to complete. And then for like phase 3, I tried like 4 or 5 times, and it never quite worked. People who were like stealing the address and breaking the mission. It wasn't really working. So I guess no pyro repeaters for me. But you know what? I'm okay with that. I did the yeah, no, so absolutely, like if you can get a CCU chain to a Polaris, it's actually a very good ship in my mind. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Jangles says that he sees doing a lot of Polarises doing cargo. It's got like, hold on, I need to look it up because it has like a massive amount of cargo. RSI Polaris. And we go to Star Citizen Tools, my favorite information website for Star Citizen. It's got 576 SCU of cargo, which is so much cargo. I think it's actually more than the C2. Because the C2 is also around like 500-ish. Oh no, so the C2 is actually 697. Okay, so it's less than a C2, but still, that's a lot of cargo. And you actually have the firepower to protect it, and generally, you know, it's actually a very fun ship to fly. I spent a lot of time flying the Polaris and the PTU, taking some photos, taking some video, and it flies really well, and the design of it is really good. I hate all the doors. All the doors just... There's like every 5 steps there's a door. I'm also a little bit mad at CIG for kind of putting it out half done. Because it's like, oh yeah, it's missing like the captain's quarters. I agree, Qjix. It doesn't quite feel like a capital ship. It feels like a bigger Connie, and I think that's wrong, especially given how kind of heavy it is and how big it is. But yeah, I agree. They're gonna adjust it in the next couple patches probably, like they do with everything. And when the Idris comes out, they're just gonna nerf the Polaris into the ground. Oh yeah, absolutely, Jangoleth. I mean, you could sustain a Polaris long term as a sort of a long range patrol ship because it has that massive cargo bay, and the cargo bay is separate from a hangar. And what I like about it is kind of like one of the small features that I really liked about it is that the hangar bay has direct elevators to the cargo bay that's underneath it. So if you have like I don't know, let's say that you have like a Argo cargo or an Avenger in there, or like any ship that can, you know, bring in some cargo, you actually don't have to like land the whole ship. You can just send out like the Avenger for like food and water and stuff, which I think is pretty neat. Or, you know, even if you have a fighter in there, let's say you have a resupply ship coming in. So yeah, just have that resupply ship fly in, open up the cargo, or open up the hangar bay, fly out the fighter that's in there to provide cover, and then you can just throw boxes of the cargo ship into the hangar, and someone can pick it up there, put it on an elevator, and put it down at the cargo hold. Probably wouldn't work with replacement torpedoes, because those things are pretty big. But still, very nice ship. I am happy with my mini Polaris, though. I got the Galaxy. Very happy with that purchase. And they have, as far as I know, they haven't changed the loaner for the Galaxy. So I get a Karak until the Galaxy comes in. Which, in case you didn't catch the news, because they announced it shortly before the IAE or shortly after the IAE started, that for 4.0 they're targeting some improvements for the Karak, and number one's going to be the blast shield is going to work, and it actually works in the PTU now, and they are slightly reworking the cargo pods to where they can actually open to the exterior. As far as I know, they don't lower to the ground, so there is not enough clearance to actually put any vehicles in. I need to try that, but you can now actually load cargo on to the Carrack manually, which is great. Not sure how big of a box they're going to be able to fit through that gap, but it looks like you should be able to get like the 4 SCU boxes in there, and size-wise it should also fit, presumably. Haven't tried. We'll have to try, but I wanted to do some more stuff with 4.0 this weekend, but CIG introduced an interesting bug, which is that none of the elevators in Pyro work. Like literally none of them. So I logged in and there were just like 20 people in the hab on Obituary just like waiting to get the elevator. But you actually, the thing is, you can backspace and that teleports you to the clinic. But you see clinics on the Pyro stations, they also have multiple floors. So you would just get into a second elevator that didn't work. So no Pyro for me this weekend, which is fine. I played a little bit of the PU, caught up on some other things. I had a lot of paperwork that I had to get caught up on. Made a video for tomorrow. Actually, for tomorrow, I have a topic I've been putting off for a little while, which is how item tiers affect balance, which I was putting it off because I was waiting for a little bit more information on item tiering and crafting, and it didn't come until like the episode 3 of the IAE show where John Crew and the forgot the other guy's name touched on it a little bit for how master modes are going to evolve, which kind of brought me into a separate video topic on master modes, but I need to do a little more research, watch that video like 4 times for Rich Tyler. Thank you, Norse Tech. I know I talked to him at CitizenCon. I talked to him and I talked to John Crew at CitizenCon, but I never remember his name is Rich Tyler. I always forget. Talk to so many CIG people at CitCon. Surprising how many actually recognized me, which was a little bit scary to think of it, that, you know, they recognize me and they know who I am and what I do. Yeah, it's terrifying, in fact. Yeah, anyway, so that is kind of interesting. 2953, no, this year in Manchester was my first CitizenCon ever. Like ever in the many years that I've been playing Star Citizen. First time at CitizenCon, I had an absolute blast. Yeah, Qjix, I literally told you face to face that it's my first time at the CitizenCon. Yeah, you know, last year was yeah, Qjix, I have a bad memory too. It's fine. Yeah, last year was LA, right? I remember that I missed a bunch of it because it would start at like 4 p.m. for me, and it would go on until like past midnight. But they actually did a pretty good job with like uploading the streams, so I could actually catch up before the next day started. I believe Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, if I agree. You know, wherever they put CitizenCon, it's gonna be rough for half of the community essentially. I don't think there is a. They could probably do a time zone that's terrible for everybody. They could do it in Shanghai, and then everybody would be screwed because that's 13 hours ahead of me and some like 8 hours behind US. How do I know this? I have colleagues in Shanghai and the US. Singapore would be fun, indeed. I maybe would even go. I would be... You know what? Australia could actually work. Because, well, you would still kind of be ruining it for a bunch of people, because if you did it in Australia, I mean, I would go to an Aussie Citizen Con, absolutely. Uh, what other reasons are there to fly to Australia? Uh, but I think evening in Australia is my morning and sort of my early. Yeah, they don't have an office in Asia, but there is a sizable Star Citizen community in China, and they have kind of like the two new model making companies that apparently Chris Roberts really likes. Uh, so I don't know. I think I don't think they're gonna open an office in Singapore or in Shanghai. What I think they'll probably go for is, because they had some pretty big bar citizens going on there over the last 2 3 years. So I think they will go the route of like supporting that community very heavily in organizing bar citizens and similar events. Because I mean they did like the Beijing bar citizen, and it was like what 5,000 people there, like almost as big as Citizen Con. And they even had like a bunch of the community team there. Chris Roberts was there, so I think that's the way they will go with kind of the Asia market for Star Citizen. I am very curious to see what comes out of the model makers. I talked to both of them because they had that Pigeon Spaceport and then the other guys who I also forget what their name was. They both gave me cards, and so I'm curious to see. I like the models they had. On the other hand, I think JRDF are doing a better job. So we will see how it goes. Maybe I will do. Oh yeah, yeah, that. Yeah, those guys who did those models of Porto and Retribution, they are gonna be selling models similar to JRDF. So I guess show of hands of who would be interested in me, like once they come out to take. I think they had like an arrow. So who would be interested in me taking a JRDF arrow and the Pigeon Spaceport arrow and try to paint those? No promise it's gonna look good. I paint Warhammer. I am okay at it. I'm okay at it. I think there is even a channel point reward thing where I show you a miniature. Anyway, so yeah, back onto the IAE. Interesting. The interesting part for me for IAE this year was actually the IAE Academy, which I think was a great idea, because it gave you a bunch of options of what can you do. They had like the 5 missions you can do, and if you're a new player who did the tutorial, you already completed 1 out of the 3 that you needed. If you were a new player who did the tutorial and you went to the expo, which you most certainly went if you got into the game as a new player, so you had 2 out of 3, and then you were just like, oh, so all I have to do is like do a bounty or do some mining, or what was the third one? There was a bounty or mining or salvage, I think. I think it was those 3. No, a hauling mission, yeah. And then you just kind of had to like do 1 out of the 3 gameplay loops, and you would be done. And you would get armor. So it's a free armor. It actually looks pretty good. It's the Singularity set. It's just not, just in purple. You got a gun, a pistol, and a bunch of other stuff, like a very nice starter pack of like gear that's gonna be with you after every reset, which I think is amazing. Norstec, you have to learn how to paint and paint them. Then again, the JRDF models, I think they look good even unpainted, because they have like very, very high quality prints, because I think they still print them with like resin printing, and they look good even unpainted, in my opinion. Especially they have like the miniature scale ones, or diorama scale ones, where it's like tiny, tiny, like they're very small, like an inch in diameter. Those look great, in my opinion. Even unpainted, I have seen a couple of them. I've seen a lot of photos people have sent me. I never pick up any of the JRDF stuff. At SitCon, when I got there, they didn't have anything that I would want, and I don't know. But I would like to buy something eventually. I'm just kind of like delaying it because I don't feel like I'm good enough to paint it in a nice way, and then I feel like I would be ruining a perfectly good model with my painting. Because, like, for Warhammer models, it's all like injection mold, so it's, yeah, you get quite a lot of details, but if you mess it up, it's not that big of a deal because it's A, so small, and B, the details are not that big. That's possibly one of the reasons I haven't painted my Baneblade yet, because I am afraid. Also, I haven't decided how I'm going to paint it. Also, it's huge. And also, I wanted to magnetize it, and I messed up a little bit with the magnetizing to where the magnets are stronger than the glue that holds them together or to the model, so they snapped out of where I glued them. So I think I will have to buy like green stuff and just green stuff them in. But my local hobby store is out of green stuff right now, so I will go there at some point when they restock it and grab some green stuff. Oh yeah, but the Saber models were really, really good. I actually, like, their favorite model for me is actually the Cyclone, because they had like the Cyclone, like the little miniatures, and I've seen some very, very nice sort of paint jobs on them for the Daymar rally, and just people making little like dioramas with them. It's really good stuff. So that's the one I would probably go for if I were to buy a JRDF model. Or I am very, very tempted by the Karak, but that's just a massive paint job, and I know I am not confident enough to do that. But I also like the Pisces they have. They had the Pisces and the Arrow, and I think the Arrow was actually one of the first, and that looked really good. A friend of mine has it painted and everything, and it looks really good. Hydration pause. Oh yeah, I'm not sure if JRDF ever had MSR, but one of the new manufacturers that was at CitizenCon, they had the MSR, and they had the C1, and they had them like huge. It was about like the C1 was about this big, and they said it was a pre-production model, and the MSR was about the same size, but it looked really, really good. And that's the one I'm tempted with, because I love my MSR. It's great. I have like a tiny 3D printed MSR that I did myself. So maybe that's what I would go for. Not sure. I will see what the options are, because they had the C1, the MSR, they had a Scorpius, and they had an Eclipse, I believe. And the Scorpius looked really good as well. And I generally like the look of the Scorpius, and if I had some store credit left, I would probably CCU something to a Scorpius this year. Because I find myself with an awful lot of fighters, which are ships that I don't fly. Because I have a Saber, because I really wanted a Saber, and I want to keep it. And then I have 2 Gladiuses. One from referrals, because the referral Gladius is like 20 referrals, something like that. It's like a very low number to get a Gladius. And then I got one in the CitizenCon screenshot contest. So now I have a Gladius to spare that I can't melt, I can't gift, because if I could gift it, I would give it away. So all I can do is CCU it to something, and oh yeah, the Saber Comet is really good. I love the paint job on the Saber Comet. And the Talon as well. I originally had a Talon way back, before it became a saber. And the thing is, I don't really fly like combat missions that much, so I don't really like get a whole lot of use out of fighters. Like I will bring a saber if I feel like, you know, I'm gonna do a bounty mission or two. Then I bring out my saber usually, because it's just very good looking ship and it flies really well. Uh, but really, otherwise, I'll usually do combat missions with a group, and in that case, I will usually grab a turret because I have brain damage. My reflexes are not what it used to be, so probably best not to put me in a fighter. uh, oh yeah, the F7A and the F7C, great ships both. I got to fly someone's F7A. Flies really well. Haven't gotten to fly the F8C yet. Would like to. Not for combat reasons, but for footage reasons. And I need to really like I need to like convince someone to let me have a go at theirs. But yeah, I actually really like the state of turrets right now on some ships. Uh, I was the third gunner on a Zeus, and that, well, that would be great if I could fly your F8. But you know, I was a third gunner on a Valkyrie, and on a Scorpius, and on a Zeus, and the state of turret right now is actually pretty good. Obviously, could be better because you're still at a disadvantage if you have an attacker approaching you, because they're gonna have, even if they have the same size weapon, they're gonna have more range because of speed. But still, I think the state of turrets is actually pretty good compared to what it was 2 years ago, which is nice. Because if you guys remember, turrets were pretty bad. Oh yeah, precision mode in turrets, you don't really get to use it that much because combat is very close right now. So if you're fighting against like a bunch of fighters or something, you're in like the standard mode in the turret, and you're trying to return fire as best you can. But when we were doing phase one, they had some bigger ships there, and you could actually use precision mode, especially on the Scorpius, because the Scorpius could keep up really well, and it was more maneuverable. So there, the precision mode was actually very, very useful. And I have used precision mode on turrets when... so when I was doing phase 2 on my own, I would take a Zeus, and I would just hover over the target area until it gave me the marker for the person I need to kill. And then I would hop into the turret, go into precision mode, and just snipe them with the turret. So yeah, works really well. Yeah, look, I just wanted to get it done, so I would have it done so I could like move on to phase 3. And I didn't really feel like, oh, I'm gonna land, I'm gonna get a sniper rifle, and I'm gonna like shoot the guy. I'm just gonna like strafe them from this, from the air, and it will be fine. And people told me that it's not gonna work, that it's not gonna give me the mission, but it did every single time it worked. But in all fairness, I kind of went on a less crowded time on the servers. I went like Saturday morning when no one was around. So I think that might have been the contributing factor. But yeah, that was great. Now, look, whenever I want to get something done, especially with a global event running and a free fly running, I will usually pick a morning on a weekend because not a whole lot of people are going to be around. But haven't really had issue with performance even in 324 over the last couple months until the free fly hit and the event, especially with the event, things went really bad really quick. But other than that, pretty good on 324. I even got to do some mining, which I haven't done in a very long time, and mining was actually doable in a prospector. In 323, I had a lot of issues with desync and latency on power levels on mineable rocks, and I would blow myself up a lot of the time just because the game would freeze for 5 seconds and boom. But now it's pretty solid. I even actually managed to do the mining quest for the IAE Academy with no issues. So yeah, weirdly enough, so I mostly do industrial gameplay when I play on my own. I do hauling missions because like I want to get footage, right? So I want to travel around, see if I see something cool. So I will do deliveries, I will do hauling, I will do salvage. Right now I can't do salvage because I don't really have any salvage contracts because the reputation is broken. But I think they're gonna fix that with 4.0. Oh really? Did you do more of them, or did you just like do 3 of them of the academy quests? Because I know I had to do like the salvage one, and or no wait, I did the mining and the hauling one, and those counted right away. And then I did I think I visited the expo, but it only counted like the second or third time I went to the expo for some reason, and I'm not sure if that's intentional or if they just depending on depending on the server state. Huh, interesting. Interesting. That's so the hauling and the bounty one are not working for you. Yeah, that's weird. I I think they might recheck it again because I was told it updates every 24 hours, but to me it actually I think it took like 2 days for some of them to appear. I think the hauling one took like 2 or 3 days, so maybe just need to wait a little bit because it would kind of suck to lose out on the armor because it's pretty cool. But yeah, no, hopefully it works for you. Yeah, the hauling one took a couple days, and the I think the mining one was like right away, like same day it appeared on the page. And the expo one, I think I had to go there like 2 or 3 times, and I actually had to like spend some time there. I think I went during the uh, RSI day and Argo day, and it only counted on the RSI day, something like that. And I actually had to like spend a while at the expo. Like I was there for maybe like half an hour. I got the mining one without even ever mining. Yes, I think Kleshner counts because they said that if you did it in if you did it in 324, like either of those activities, it would count. So I wonder if the oh, I think I know why the bounty one didn't work for you. Because the bounty one, it's bound specifically to like the entry level like tracker permit, like the very very first one in the bounty mission chain. It only works on that one. So if you had like a reputation that rolled over from 323 and you did not do, or you didn't have to do that tracker permit whatever, yeah, there you go. So that's why the bounties didn't work for you. uh, i I thought it would work, like doing any bounty mission if you don't have the entry one. But yeah, so for any of you listening to this afterwards and you're trying to do your IAE Academy and your bounty mission is not working for you, it's because you didn't do the tracker cert. Try something else. Uh, yeah, try the hauling one. I think I did just like the lowest level hauling mission of take this from the new Babbage spaceport to Port Tressler. It was just like 6 SCU of whatever, and it worked. So maybe that's the problem. but I also expect that they might have like a pretty big volume of people trying to do the missions to get the armor now that the IAE is actually ending in a couple days. So maybe it's like the system's not catching up properly. But yeah, you will see. I hope you get it. It's a very cool armor. And I am getting congested. I think I caught a cold. So apologies if I sound a little toad-like on the stream or on the recording afterwards. Yeah, and there was one more thing I wanted to talk about in the IAE. Right. The thing that surprised me this year was that we only had one concept this year. We only had the Anvil Paladin as a concept. So only one. And yeah, it's a pleasant surprise. I am pleasantly surprised by this because we actually had a lot of stuff that went straight to flyable, which I think is the better option for IAE. Because we had the medical terrapin, we had the two new Hornet variants, or well, they're not new, it's just Mark II versions of the Mark I Hornet variants. And we had, the Polaris being released. We had I'm missing something. Yeah, the medical terrapin, Polaris, and the Hornets, and something else. There was one more thing that went straight to flyable, I think, or maybe not. And then we only had one concept for the Paladin, which my hand itched. My hand itched to buy that. I kind of knew it was coming because I was during the PTU, I saw the expo halls and I saw the hologram for it. So I understood what it was going to be. It was going to be a gunship because it is very obviously a gunship. But I cannot justify the price tag. And I don't have anything that I could reasonably CCU to it because I CCU'd my 400i to the Galaxy. So maybe I will leave it off for next year because I don't think it's going to get released anytime soon. Very true. All about seats. And when you think about it, the Paladin, you get 4 people and you get 3 turrets. And it's got quite a lot of firepower. It's got 8 guns on it and a ton of missiles. It's got 6 missile racks, and I think it's depending on what they end up with on the component loadout, how many shields, how many coolers, how many power plants. I think it's going to be a very, very good gunship until the nerf, obviously. That's why because me wanting to be a turret gunner, I don't right now. I don't really have any multi-crew ships or anything reasonably multi-crew. I have a Zeus and I have an MSR, but that's not really like a gunship. So that's kind of a gap in my fleet right now that I would like to fill with something. Okay. Why don't you think there's going to be a huge nerf with it? Yeah, no, we will see. I don't think they're going to change the guns on it. I think we might see it be less agile because right now I expected, like, when you think about it, it's just kind of a Valkyrie that was cut in half, but it has more or less the same internal volume somehow. So maybe it's gonna be about, or maybe a little bit more maneuverable than a Valkyrie. But no, I like the concept of it. I just don't like the back and forth CIG were doing on it because they were like, oh yeah, pilot has no guns to control, it's all gunners. And then, 3 hours later, they were like, oh, we should clarify this. The pilot actually has controls of the wing guns. And then I'm sitting there like, but then what do the other 2 gunners do? Does it just, like, change who controls it depending on whether there's a gunner in the seat. Yeah, just I don't know. CIG, make up your mind, please. But no, I like the idea of the ship. I would like to have it, but I think I will look into it a little bit closer to release because I don't think it's one of the ships they are gonna get done. Oh yes, absolutely. You know, a lot of people say that the Redeemer got gutted because they downsized the main gun. They removed a bunch of the shields, and I actually think it's a reasonable change because when you think about it, the Redeemer had more shields and more firepower than a Hammerhead, and now I think with the nerf, they put it more into the category where it should be. I think it should have retained the size 3 shield, or maybe have multiple size 2 shields. But I think it's going to have a ton of armor in the future to take the hits. So we will see. Ultimately, I got rid of my 400i because they did the same thing to the 400i, and it made the 400i completely useless. Oh yes, absolutely. They once ship tiers and item tiers come in, they will want people to upgrade their ship to be better. We are kind of yet to see what that's going to look like, because I don't think even CIG have an idea. Well, that's the thing. The 400i actually has no data running capability as far as I know, so it can't really be an MSR competitor, and it doesn't even have that much cargo space. They could sell it as a Zeus competitor for the ES variant. No, the cold storage rooms are just for components. They're just like, oh, it has like cooled component base. That's the whole point of the cold storage on the 400i. It was supposed to be, yeah, it was supposed to be an exploration ship. And I liked it because it's like, yep, very good ship, very fast, has defensive weapons. Good, living quarters, fits a vehicle, no problem. Good component redundancy. It had, a size 3 shield. It had triple redundancy on components. But then they removed the redundancy. Then they made it a lot slower, so now it actually can't run away from anything. And, especially with master modes, if you're running away in nav mode, you can't fire the rear-facing weapons. And if you are in SCM mode, your rear-facing weapons are completely useless to an opponent that can be all around you. So, yeah, that's why I got rid of it in favor of the Galaxy. I know I said I don't like the Galaxy when they first announced it. I'm aware of it. But that was because I didn't know they were actually working on modularity. Now that I know they're working on modularity, I like the Galaxy. That's why I bought it. But yes, with the changes to master modes where weapons will work in quantum mode, yes, agreed. When you will have weapons in quantum mode, it will be better. We'll see how it ends up working because that was actually the video I thought about 5 minutes before the stream. I don't think even CIG know what they're going to do with master modes, which is fair. I see the intent, I just don't see a direction, if that makes sense. I like the idea of like, yes, you can be in quantum mode and still have weapons. That's going to be a major change for especially, ships that have defensive weapons like the 400i or even the Zeus. For ships that are single-seaters, like the Prospector is not going to do anything, because you're still not going to be able to outrun whatever's attacking you. I feel like, Prospector, Vulture, all these ships, take away the pilot control guns, put a couple PDCs on there. Put an automated turret on it. and it will be fine. Like if you put 2 PDCs on a prospector, 2 on a vulture, my fears would be alleviated and we can move on. And same with every single seat industrial ship. But yeah, I agreed. The Galaxy looks very, very nice. The thing that kind of caught my interest on the Galaxy is that modularity, and they have a bunch of modules, and all of them have a niche that you can use them for. I specifically went for the refinery because I'm moving in that industrial gameplay direction, so that's what I would like to do. I would like to run a refinery. Base building would be nice also, but we'll see how that goes. Yes, that's the thing. So they are discussing that they have a direction and they have an intent. But to me, it feels like yes. So kind of my thing with master modes. I like master modes actually. I like what it does. It simplifies the control scheme. When you think about it, Elite Dangerous does this exact same thing. Elite Dangerous has a slow and you have weapons, and fast and you don't have weapons mode. And it works. And I like how they did it in Star Citizen. I just feel like there were some gaps in the initial design that I pointed out in multiple videos. Number one being, you are never going to run away. Because by the time you accelerate enough to run away, you're already dead if you don't have shields. Which is an issue that they never quite addressed, and maybe this will address it to some extent, because you can at least defend yourself while you're running away. But again, that's not going to help you if you're in an industrial ship. Also, my offense with this, I don't want to say offense, but it's kind of a gripe I have with the design of master modes, is that it was designed for combat in a game where over half of the ships are not combat. It was designed specifically for light fighters, as admitted by Yogi Klatt on multiple occasions, that this was designed on a Gladius, for Squadron. And most importantly, Yogi Klatt himself has admitted that he never flies anything besides the Gladius. So if that's the guy running the development of vehicle experience, and that's my spicy take on vehicle experience team. I think they're doing a great job with balancing and stuff, but that's my hot take on the vehicle experience team. If the guy who is in charge of that team never flies anything besides the Gladius, how can I trust you guys to tune any other ship besides the Gladius to a good experience? That's my question. And I'm aware that I'm probably wrong, that they are looking at the ships, but I just don't have confidence in it based. Agreed. So we're kind of broaching into the whole Stanton lawful system area. And I'm kind of curious what's the intent for CIG with this, because I kind of got some mixed messages at CitizenCon on this. My understanding is the same as yours, that Stanton is a semi-lawful place at the moment, where, yes, it's a part of the UEE, but the UEE doesn't enforce any laws. That is up to the corporate security that are in charge of Stanton. But my understanding is that once Pyro and Nyx come online, and because I think Nyx is going to be the next one, and then they're going to do Castra and Terra, then they are going to actually tighten security in Stanton, because according to CIG, depending on who you ask at CIG, they consider Stanton to be high security, which I don't necessarily agree with, given how it works politically, but that's where they're going with, But yes, I agree, they definitely have to be looking at other ships for Squadron, because there are other ships appearing in Squadron. But Also agree that it's going to be the main thing, and it needs to feel good. And I agree. The Gladius, I love flying the Gladius. It feels good. It flies good. It fights well within its class. My kind of note on the Gladius is that I don't consider myself a good fighter pilot, right? But as an inexperienced fighter pilot, I am able to do fighter combat with the Gladius because it is actually pretty easy to learn to get to a point where you can effectively dogfight NPCs, which I think is the goal for Squadron. Though I would like to see a similar level of sort of quality of flight with other ships, because right now some ships are really lacking. Like the Zeus right now is great because it's new, it's kind of fresh off the production line, and it's overtuned. On the other hand, the MSR used to feel great, now it feels terrible. Agreed. It's likely misnamed high sec because of each system has the reputation factor, and AI is not there to dissuade or be a major deterrent for pirates. I agree. That's I agree absolutely. That's according to what I've always been saying. There is no long-term reputation. There is no long-term impact of being a criminal and having a crime stat. If you go to prison, no one remembers that you went to prison until you get another crime stat. There is no long-term deterrent. There is kind of the AI response to where, like, you try to attack a station, but that's not very good. Yes, also agree. You do need to be. I mean, I don't think it's that big of a deal in Stanton. At least I would say in the last 3 years, I never had a pirate encounter. But I usually fly in less crowded times because of how my schedule works out, and B, when I go mining, I go into the middle of nowhere where no one's gonna be looking for me. So, and that's kind of my defensive, because on one hand, there have to be consequences for pirates, but you can't expect to go to Pyro to mine without protection and not get attacked, especially now since there is only one way in and out. But we will see how it eventually works out. I am very curious to see long-term reputation, long-term impacts of breaking laws, NPC security, and I know I compare Elite Dangerous to Star Citizen a lot on this, but Elite Dangerous does NPC security really well. Northstack, I don't know if you play Elite. I play Elite on occasion. They also have kind of the security levels on systems, going from high security to no security. And pretty much, if you have any kind of security in the system, the security forces, they respond in a different period of time. So like if you get interdicted in a high security system, the security will be there in like under a minute. And that time increases as you go to like low security systems and such, to where maybe, security doesn't arrive in time. And there, the other important thing is that security response actually depends on your reputation with the governing faction in the area. So if you have high reputation with the faction that controls that system, they will offer security right away. Like they will be there the moment you get interdicted, which is really nice. And I hope to see something similar. That's the point, though. We can't speak hypothetically about things, but yes, exactly. We are very far away from a finished product at the moment. This year at CitizenCon, I kind of saw the pieces falling together, which was very nice to see. But yeah, actually, Eve has a very similar system, as far as I know. But yeah, no, we absolutely agree with you. We will see. Lots of things CAG announced a long time ago, they are reworking now. mostly because they realize it's not going to work. Like tiering and insurance, the big insurance changes. When you think about it, that was the first insurance update we had since the start. And it actually admitted that the way insurance was originally planned was not going to work. So they had to add that second layer of warranty, which I think is really good. So, yeah, good stuff. But yeah, I'm catching a cold. Yeah. Anyway, so we will see. I think we are going to have a very exciting year. 1.4.0 is going to come out soon. I think they will try to push it before the end of the year, but I think it will be more reasonable if they, release 4.0 early January or in January in general. Then I think we will see first 6 months of 2025 being kind of like the testing and stabilization. I think there's going to be 4.0, 4.123, maybe 4, where they do hot fixes and bug fixes and all that. Maybe adding some missing content, because it seems like, the Mirai Guardian might come in with 4.0, and then there was another thing that might be in 4.0. I think they said Guardian and they said something else. And they had a ton of missing content with engineering and all that. But I don't think that's going to come until 4.1, 4.2, etc. So, yeah, maybe, not sure. I know they had the Guardian in the IAE videos. So we know, because I originally expected the Guardian to be at IAE, but clearly it's going to get pushed to 4.0. But yeah, engineering is the big one that we're waiting for. Fire is another big one. Then there's going to be a full overhaul of the economy. Lots of stuff that are coming in, or that got pushed from 4.0 that we will see in the follow-on patches. But I think the first 6 months are going to be just getting it to a playable state. And then they're going to announce what's going to come next and try to put it in game. Oh, Maelstrom. Maelstrom is going to be so much fun. I don't think we're going to see it next year, though. I think that's more of a 2026 scenario for Maelstrom. I think we might see Nyx in 2026 as well. Maybe even in 2025, depending on how fast they can put out star systems after Pyro. We will see. Because when you think about it, they do still have to make a lot of bespoke assets for every star system. There's like a lot of reusable content from Stanton and from Pyro that you can use in Nyx, but you still have to build a lot of bespoke stuff. And then for Terra and Castra, it's mostly bespoke stuff for the locations. So, yeah. But yeah, absolutely. If once you get dynamic server meshing, once you get Maelstrom, once you get the new weather stuff, they get all the renderer coming in. Vulcan is still not fully done. Oh yeah, absolutely. They've been doing major pushes into networking, as you say, services. Lots of stuff is getting pushed into a separate service to support server meshing, which is really good. I mean, they did ATC a while ago. Then they split off the economy and commodity stuff. Now they're splitting off the mission manager, which is... I think that's going to be in 4.0. I know they've been testing it, like the mission manager changes. I'm not 100% sure it's going to make it into 4.0. Like, not 100% sure. But I know they've been testing it. So we will very much see what's happening. Okay. Well, I'm not sure about... Oh, no, I am very happy you're dominating the conversation. It's going to look a little bit weird to the people who are listening to this after, And if you're listening to this after, it's because someone is talking to me in the chat, and I'm responding to what they're saying. uh, no, Norstek, if you want to be on voice on the next show, it's absolutely possible. Which reminds me, I should probably explain to people, because we had a couple of new people on the stream today, on how to be on the Comm Relay, because the Comm Relay is a caller show. It's a call-in show. You can come in and talk to me live. All you have to do is join the Armory Discord and be in the waiting room channel when I start streaming, and I will drag you in and talk to you about the topic of the day. I forgot to say that at the start of the show. So, yeah. Nice, yeah. So, no, absolutely. If you are around and you want to talk about the thing I'm talking about, just hop on the Discord, and I will talk to you on it. I'm very happy to talk to everyone. So that's an open invitation if you're listening to this on the stream, or if you're listening to this on Spotify, on YouTube, or on Apple Podcasts. Because again, if you're new here, stream happens every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Central European Time, which is, look onto the schedule in your time zone on Discord or on Twitch. And right after the stream, I upload the audio of this to Spotify, which then pushes it to YouTube and to Apple Podcasts for, so that everybody can enjoy this on their favorite podcast platform. Which is actually interesting. Spotify, it's sort of tangent on podcasting. So Spotify changed up how they do the creator portal, and now it actually aggregates analytics from some of the services that you push the podcast through RSS. So for me, it only aggregates Apple Podcasts, but it also pulls some like Anchor and other stuff where it goes automatically. So I actually see how many people listen to this on other platforms. And I have sort of YouTube analytics on YouTube, and I see sort of the creator dashboard for Spotify. And I can't show you because I don't have screen sharing set up for streaming, but I can sort of read it out to you. So I know that over the last 30 days, and let me actually open the full analytics page. So I know that over the last 30 days, I have had about 90 listeners, which amounts to 60 hours of listening time over the last month, and 7 new followers on Spotify. So it is growing. But if I go to, so that was like the overview, but now I go to the audience tab, it actually tells me the platform breakdown of, and it tells me, 62% of your viewers come from Spotify, 20% come from Apple Podcasts, 7% come from Spotify for Creators, which is still Spotify. It's just kind of a different website to show you the podcast. Sometimes it shows like web browser, so I guess someone listening to it on web. Overcast, Castbox. So it kind of shows you the breakdown. It shows you some very interesting, like it even shows you like the breakdown of devices people listen to. So I know that it's about 40/40 iPhone, Android, and the rest is on the web. So it's just really, really interesting stuff that it shows you. And you can see like the breakdown per episode and very interesting stuff that it shows you. And I'm a developer. I like data. I like seeing what people listen to and what people like about what I do. And YouTube has been also doing some really interesting stuff with how they show analytics. Personally, I really like, again, second tangent as a content creator that you guys might not know about. YouTube lets me upload. It's a fairly new feature. They only put it out, I think, a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago. It lets me upload 3 versions of a thumbnail for one video. And it serves different versions to different people randomly, I assume. And oh yeah, that Norstek, any help I can give you with like setting this up, absolutely hit me up on Discord or Blue Sky. I'm very happy to help, because some of this stuff is kind of difficult to navigate. So yeah, very happy to help with setting this up. Spotify setup is really weird. and then like setting up the RSS feeds and stuff. It's really weird. Like Apple Podcast is insanely convoluted for some reason to set up, even if you're just like pushing it with RSS feed. But yeah, now YouTube have this new feature. I get to upload 3 versions of a thumbnail for one video, which like I think it serves it randomly to different people, and I love being annoyed. Just ask my social media manager. She annoys me all the time, but she does it with love. But no, I'm very happy to help. I think we need more content creators in the Star Citizen because I feel I feel like, lots of the smaller content creators in Star Citizen, they put out very, very high quality content, and I would like to see more of that in the community. Yeah, she's not sorry. She's not sorry at all, and I appreciate it. I appreciate the help, because I would be lost in the whole social media space if I didn't have her. So absolutely appreciate it. But yeah, back to the YouTube thing. So it serves you one of the 3 different versions of a thumbnail, and then it compares how many people click on it out of all the people they show it to, and then after like 2 weeks they select the best one as the thumbnail that's gonna stick with it. I don't think it does anything, personally. I don't think it does anything. For most of my videos, the thumbnails have pretty much the equal amount of click-through. There are very few where there is a notable difference, where one is like, 60% of all clicks comes from that thumbnail. But usually it doesn't matter. I'm just happy I get to do multiple thumbnails, because I'm never sure what I want to put on a thumbnail if I do just like concept art of ships and stuff. But the second thing is that, after 2 weeks where it actually chooses the thumbnail to stay, it doesn't really matter anymore, because no one's going to be seeing that video, because that's, even for me, where I upload once a week, that's already 2 videos in front of it that it's going to show people. So, and I have videos that are fairly popular, actually. I think the Elite versus Star Citizen video that gets a couple hundred views a week still, over a year after release. So yeah, I do get some videos that people watch over and over, like especially when IAE and Free Fly come into the I have a bunch of tutorials. 2 questions. What was the actual topic for today's episode? Just general impressions of the IAE since it's over, and how much longer I'm going to be on. I'm going to be cutting it off fairly soon, as soon as I finish my rant on YouTube, because yeah, I'm starting to feel really congested, and I'm going to drink some paracetamol, have some tea, sit back, and I finish editing pictures and doing my Patreon post, because every month I do a Patreon post where I put couple pictures from that month as wallpapers, and then I write a little bit on kind of what was going on that month and what I was doing with the. Don't worry, you can interrupt me all you want. That's all I'm here for, to be interrupted and go off on tangents. And what's happening with the Armory, because I have the Armory Patreon, but that's kind of the go-to Patreon for supporting everything I do. So now it actually supports the hauling application, it supports the channel, it supports the streams. I just kind of, because the Discord server is named the Armory, so the Patreon is named the Armory. And originally the Patreon and the Discord were created for the Armory originally. Well, the Patreon the Discord was created like 2 years after the Patreon and the Armory in general. But yeah. So my general thing is, with people supporting my content, what I do is, the only support I ask for is that you show up and you comment and you like and you talk to me and you use the tools that I make. If you want to contribute financially, I appreciate your contributions towards my coffee addiction. It is not required. It is not mandatory. It is appreciated. and I give you as many options to do so. I now have Twitch subscriptions. I have the YouTube memberships. I have them enabled on the channel. I have the Patreon if that's because, you know, a lot of people there are like, oh, I support a bunch of people on Patreon, so it's actually better for me to have all my creators on Patreon. I have a merch store. You know, if you want to buy some shirts with my logos on it to support the show, I have to say, side note, I have tried all of my merch personally, and all of my t-shirts are great. I have picked the best quality stuff that I could. Haven't checked out the hoodies yet. I know I have some new hoodies on there with the embroidered Armory and Comm Relay and Stream logos. Haven't tried those yet. Because I was told, because I do my store through Fourth Wall, like a bunch of other creators, I was told by the guy who's like my manager for that, because they kind of assign you a representative who talks to you about like stuff that's going on, which is really nice. I really like that I have like a person that is responsible for you. Sorry, bumped the screen there. So, and he told me that they're going to be changing suppliers for the embroidered hoodies, because it's a new product that they have, but they're going to change the supplier because they were not happy with it. So I'm waiting for that switch before I order samples, because what I can do is I can order samples for myself. And then if some of you guys met me at CitizenCon, or you saw a photo of me at CitizenCon, I had the Armory embroidered bomber jacket, which I also have on the store, which was mostly for me, but a couple of people actually bought it. Because, I mean, who doesn't want a bomber jacket, right? So, and yes, you know, you can very happily, yeah, absolutely, you know, and you know, that's kind of my philosophy on supporting my content, because full disclosure, I have a full-time job. I'm a software developer. I make pretty good money. My mortgage, taxes, and food take away most of that money, but I can still, you know, do the channel, do the podcast, do the Armory on my free time and have it not burden me too much. We have awesome sponsors for the Armory, Virotech, who actually give me the servers to run the Armory for free. All they ask is that I occasionally give them a shout out and that they're linked on the page in case someone using the Armory wants servers also. So yeah, if you're listening or watching and you need a tier 1 data center for whatever reason, Virotech. Link is somewhere in the description or on the Armory. And yeah, any other support people want to give me is completely voluntary. I appreciate it immensely. And literally, if you're a subscriber, I will... what I do for front-end, I do React. And Svetley is not that far away from it, from what I know. Haven't touched it. Yeah, I am a .NET React developer, which is a very popular combo right now, and the Armory is .NET backend and React frontend. Same with the hauler, same with pretty much everything I do, really. I have done very few .NET frontends because I'm kind of waiting for how the they have a new UI framework, May UI or whatever they're calling it. I'm kind of waiting to see how that develops. And I might look into it because I saw some examples of it and it looks very good. But it's like very freshly out of preview with .NET 8. So I'm kind of waiting to see what happens with it in the future. Because I don't really have time or the energy to be learning a new framework right now, with how much work I'm doing at work and sort of how Armory is developing. Sadly, for the Armory, I had to axe a feature. I was going to do data bounties where I would be able to do in-game payments to people for giving me data. But I was advised by CAG that is very against the terms of service and I shouldn't do it. So I am sadly axing that feature and I'm going to replace it with something else. But probably the big thing I'm looking for the armory is starware with, combining armor and clothes. Oh, so you're not. Oh, so you're. You know what? I never got to touch Rust. I briefly experimented with Python and Ruby. Very much liked Ruby. Never got into it professionally or for any projects. Python, I have a deep-seated hatred for. Python and PHP for no particular reason besides that they made me do a university project in Python and PHP, and I hated every second of it because nothing in Python makes sense to me. On the other hand, I have done some signal processing stuff in college with Python, and it was amazing. I love kind of the scientific and math libraries for Python. Great job by the community. So easy to get it done, and I absolutely see why the scientific community works with Python over, any other language, just because of the availability of these libraries. I could not imagine doing this in C#. Oh yeah, yeah. And that's the exact reason I don't like Python, and I love .NET. Everybody's like, .NET, isn't that like super heavy and performance difficult? I'm like, no, it's very lightweight. It's very easily testable. Lots of testing frameworks. It has lots of tools that actually alert you. Shout out to ReSharper. Alert you to the edge cases you might be having, and performance-wise, all I have to say is the Armory backend runs on multiple services. It's 3 services, actually. It's the gear service that gives you information about gears. It's the shop service, which gives you information on where what is bought and looted. And the submission service that handles every inventory, image, and loadout submission that you put in. All of these 3 services at once, for up until 2 months ago, were running on a single server with 1 gigabyte of RAM and 1 CPU core. And we never got any latency issues on it. It always responded within 1 minute to any request, no matter how many concurrent requests I hit it with. So that's .NET performance for you. And I don't think it can get any better. Yeah. Caveat on that, I optimized the hell out of it. I actually wrote very optimized code for the Armory, and I only asked for a bigger server to run it when I introduced the hauler, because the hauler is actually computationally difficult, because it does actually a probabilistic optimization method for hauling routes. So it does actually need to run a few calculations on it, where the Armory backends just serve data. So it's not as difficult. Most of the heavy lifting is done by the database there. But now that I have more RAM and more CPU, I actually put in some caching, and it actually works really well with the caches. So that's nice. And the Armory front end is doing a lot of caching as well to make it faster. Django and Postgre, yes, good choice. Good choice. I was looking for Redis for the Armory as well, but I don't have a use case for it. Given how well the integrated .NET cache works, because it takes literally 5 minutes to set up and it just works out of the box, and it works really well. And really, I don't need to be caching all that much for it. I would rather have fresh data, and for everything else, the Armory front end is actually caching it for you on the client end. So don't really need Redis. Might eventually look into it for other things, but we will see. Sadly, I like the data bounties feature that I had to axe. My follow-on idea was to make that bounty board accessible to everyone, so everybody can request data and sort of issue payments to other people. But that had a lot of issues with how do I prove that a person was paid, and sort of a lot of accounting stuff. So that's the second reason it got axed. That was sort of a technical reason on the game side, but I was advised by CIG to not do this, because then they would have to do, like, right now CIG acknowledges my existence but doesn't announce my existence, but then they would have to denounce the existence of the armory because it is against the terms of service if I did data bounties. So that's kind of the conversation that happened there with CIG staff at CitizenCon, and then follow on with after CitizenCon with the other CIG staff, which I appreciate the heads up. I wish they would tell me this before I sunk 40 hours into making the back end. But you know, if they ever change their mind, it's not going to be very difficult to put in. Anyway, with that being said, I think I'm going to cut it off here and go have some more dinner because I'm actually hungry. What was exactly? They have a thing against, and I'm not sure if it was the TOS or the community guidelines, against issuing payments to players for out-of-game actions or through out-of-game tools. And I think it's mostly aimed at, people who sell credits on eBay. But that clause also would apply to the data bounties, because I would be paying people for doing something outside of the game. So yeah, it makes sense. In the, like, if you look at it only in the data bounty perspective, it doesn't make sense. But if you look at it like, yeah, it's aimed at eBay sellers for credits, yeah, that makes perfect sense. So yes, wish I had known this a bit sooner, but right now it's not really that big of a deal for me. Sure, a feature gets axed, but yeah, absolutely. Would love to have you on the show, Norstech. I don't know what I'm gonna go, what I'm gonna talk about next week. So yeah, if you have any, if you have any ideas for what you want to talk about on the show, absolutely post them in the Discord. I am always looking for new ideas. Always happy to talk to people. But yeah, that'll be all for today. Thank you all for joining me, and absolutely do reach out to me. I'm very happy to hear you out. But yeah, thank you all for joining me. Once again, if you would like to join me on the Comm Relay as a guest, all you have to do is be on the Armory Discord, link in the description, and be in the waiting room channel at the show start, so 7 p.m. Central European Time, which is, I believe, noon Central Standard Time for you US folk. And I will drag you in when I'm ready for you, and we will have a conversation for however long we feel like talking and however long I have time for, and depending on other guests and whatnot. If you didn't catch us live, every episode of the Comm Relay gets uploaded to Spotify, and from there to YouTube and Apple Podcasts. And with that being said, thank you all, and have a good night, and I will see you in the verse. Bye.